Okay, brilliant. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Parisa Wright. I am the founder of community sustainability charity Greener and Cleaner. We started off as a community group, became a CIC, and we've been a charity since 2021. This is what we're going to be talking about today. This is one of the things we're going to be talking about today, which is the pilot for a community hub. And what started off being called as a community sustainability hub and is now called a community hub, which we've been piloting since March 2022. It is in a mainstream setting in the heart of the community in a really popular shopping centre. It's done up to a fairly polished level, so as not to look fringe or to feel stigmatized, etc. And we get over 12,000 visitors a year. And we have now 10 to 15 events a week. What started off as 3 to 4 events a week is now 10 to 15 events a week. And it is a welcoming and empowering local space for everybody. The full range of different groups and demographics and needs and interest areas. This is how we've done it. You don't have to do it this way, but there are some pros of having a joined up approach. But this is where we are now, and this is where we were back in March 2019. Basically, that's me grinning insanely on the left, sitting above a pub. I think that was one of the early sessions we ran on, like using your voice with social media. But essentially, we started off as a group of local people who were concerned in Southeast London, who were concerned about our local environment and had been horrified by the school climate strikes of 2018 and the fact that 4-year-olds and 15-year-olds were having to set aside their childhood and beg adults to take responsibility for their actions. And we were looking at that government and we were looking at local government and we were seeing no sense of shame or responsibility and no action being taken. And so, many of us said we have professional skills, we have life skills, we're problem solvers, we're doers. So at a community level, we're going to try and help address some of the problems locally, try and raise awareness, but also normalize the conversation and proper engagement with sustainable living. And we really talked a lot and lent into the fact that our community, whoever it was, whatever end of the political spectrum, whatever their views on the environment, everybody had some kind of sustainability skill, or what we now call sustainability skill, what our parents and our grandparents would have called common sense, or life skills, or craft skills. So growing food, sewing, not using your car if you didn't need to, etc., etc., insulating your home. And there's a picture from the school climate strikes. My little one was 1 when I started Greener and Cleaner, and there she is in the buggy. And there's some lots of different people there. So essentially, who are Greener and Cleaner? As I said, started in 2019, wanting to sort of normalize and grow the reach of sustainable living. We noticed that there was a gap. There wasn't local advice. There wasn't an opportunity to collaborate on skills sharing, on projects. And soon we brought together lots of different people. At the beginning, it was 10 people above a pub. But from the first month in March 2019, we said we can't be a talking shop. Every month we have to put on one public event so that we are modeling and engaging people. It's visible, but it's also normalizing because it's, talking about things that are accessible and that people can connect with. So yes, it started off with recycling and sewing and crocheting shopping bags and, having debates, etc., etc. But by the end of the first year, we put on the first ever climate hustings to the borough. We put on the first ever Southeast London Schools Eco Ideas Swap event. We'd raised £50,000 for a local school for air quality improvements and campaigned and got crossings for a couple of schools as well. But essentially, we're trying to be an empowering community partner. We worked from meeting above a pub and doing those public events and Facebook growth to reach people. And then in 2022, we managed to set up a community hub, which was with seed funding from Bays and community fundraising that we did. And we launched that hub, and it's been going 5 days a week ever since. And then in 2025, we've got some funding on board from Esme Fairbairn around blueprinting this model of a hub with its events and projects out in the communities of Southeast London, and identifying the next sites. So that is some support. We have some support funded as well for groups even while we're creating the blueprinting package, which I'll come on to. So, slides, move slide. I think I can make this slide move. There we go. It's to the interconnected crisis of our time, the climate crisis, health crisis, loneliness, and mental health. And yes, again, all areas of the sustainability are covered. And I mean, it's not that everyone needs to do that. It's just that we found that if you can give people lots of different entry points to start on the conversation, they will come in on nature or waste reduction or one of the things that either interests them, worries them, or is more accessible and fun. And then you bring them on a journey to the higher impact areas such as energy, food, transport. And then community needs, we don't silo, we support people with all different backgrounds and needs, whether that is a disability, whether that is cost of living, whether that's employment, whether that's loneliness, whether that's, juggling, running a family and trying to be a bit more sustainable and aware of their future, whatever it is. And we help people locally with their pressing socioeconomic needs, but through the lens of sustainability. So we very much on the journey, and we know that over 50% of the people who engage with us aren't initially coming in for an environmental concern or interest. They're coming in for other needs that they feel are more urgent, but then they're finding that they can be met through different areas of sustainability. And we talk about Sustainability 360 being anything.
I really love coming to the hub.
I just live for Mondays to come here.
I came into the hub for an energy efficiency clinic and I picked up a few tips. And now we're saving a bit of cash at home and also saving some energy, which is good.
So we have got 39 laptops that have been donated today, lots of phones, and bags and boxes of cables.
I heard about the hub through various mental health support groups. It's a wonderful place to come. It's probably the one thing that saves me from absolute despair in my life.
Since 2019, Greener and Cleaner has been going, but in 2022 we set up our pilot community hub here in the Glade Shopping Centre in Bromley, and it's been open 5 days a week since then for the last 3.5 years, and well over 30,000 people have come through these doors. On top of that, we've been doing pop-up events out in hospitals, in universities, in schools, in parks all over South East London. And these have been inspired by what people have said they want and they need and what they care about for their local environment, for their well-being and building community resilience.
Greener and Cleaner did an energy-saving visit to you a few months ago, and we advised you to switch your tariff to a fixed tariff.
Which I did. I can phone John at any time of the day and he'll always help me.
I know and love what we do in here, and it gives me energy every time I come through the doors. It became very clear as soon as I got engaged with people in Greener and Cleaner that this was a community I could become a part of, that it would become something more than work.
Once you start looking for litter, it's very therapeutic, but it's great to do it as a social activity as well. I think there's a lot of people who want to get involved, who want to do more. Picking up litter like this is hope, because it looks like everyone else has given up. But actually we need to bring power really back into the community. It is an uphill challenge. Well done, good job.
I rented an SDS hammer drill from the Library of Things here in Glades and Bromley, and it was easy to pick up and collect. I can just come to the kiosk here, tap a few buttons, and I've got my drill. And I've learned today about some of the other things the hub does, like the community sewing machine. I think it's really, really good that people can learn these things at little to no cost as well, and they're skills for life that they can pass on.
Carol initially brought us the sewing box at the Beckenham Repair Cafe, and it's been such a joy to see it restored, and it just looks so lovely, and it's so nice to hear the history of it and know that we've restored something that's so loved.
I think they've done it very well indeed, don't you? I'm very impressed with their skills.
I saw that there's a mending clinic, and the dress that I brought in today, I need to do some repairs on it. The staff, the volunteers, they're very, very helpful. It has helped me to learn some few things on how to do the things myself as well.
Another thing that we've grown over the past 12 months is our community allotment and garden, where we're teaching each other amazing food growing skills, where we're learning about creating habitats for local wildlife. And it's wonderful seeing all the generations and cultures coming together.
Oh, you're gonna put your little pad in here? Oh, yeah! We got that.
We've also developed an amazing new offering for 18 to 25-year-olds called Connect the Buds.
It's quite hard meeting people in real life. It can be a space to come and learn a skill or do a workshop, have a cup of tea, learn something new. We don't have a lot of those kinds of places anymore.
I think the vision for Greener and Cleaner is that every community across the UK should have access to a space that feels like it's owned by them and that is invested in the future of this planet and those communities that they're serving. We're trying to demonstrate through doing it in our space what's worked and what hasn't worked, so that other communities can set up, and the blueprint is our contribution. We've recently opened a support service for micro-sized businesses in the borough who want to be more ethical, more sustainable. We designed that because businesses were telling us that they couldn't get any help across South London. We're already networking with incredible groups on how do we do things together. Everybody has something that they can grab hold of and make a difference with, and if we are all doing that all of the time, we will get to where we actually need to be.
It makes my week. I look forward to it all the time.
So basically, as I said, it delivers tangible outcomes, which aren't just the environmental ones. And we talk about that quite a lot. You can see there's some slides here from Civil Service Live, because we were invited there by the behavioural science team at Cabinet Office to come and talk about how what we're doing builds trust with the community and sort of counters the distrust both in government and also in environmental initiatives that come from any kind of government route. And also talked about how civil service teams can be collaborating with community groups, grassroots projects to pilot the solutions we need to see. So next slide, please. Yeah, so basically this is just an example of really practical offerings in that same space. We collaborate with the Library of Things, so we managed to get the council to spend, I think it was about £40,000 of their carbon reduction fund on the Library of Things, because Library of Things has got some really good data around the tonnage of carbon that their project reduces, so that's why the council offices were managed to get that away for us. We haven't really had much funding from council. But that was a really, really amazing asset that we were able to collaborate on, and that is in our community hub, and it does bring in different people, which is amazing. We also do party packs, and we also always have a sewing machine, which you saw in the video as well, which anyone can come in and use. There's usually a couple actually, and we've had teenagers who've come in and used it because we chose a unit near a McDonald's for the same reason that McDonald's chooses to be next to bus stops and opposite public toilets. So we have a lot of people, young people, teenagers, people with different needs coming in, stopping by, seeing us, getting involved in a free class, and then regularly using our equipment for free if it's the stuff we offer in a hub, or borrowing items from the Library of Things. Next slide, please. Yeah, again, highlighting this about intergenerational skill swapping, upskilling communities, overcoming disabilities, loneliness, and reducing waste. And sort of messaging it in that way brings people in, and then we bring people on that journey towards energy and the other higher impact areas. Next slide, please. And again, also highlighting the value of intercultural skills sharing is really important, and making sure that people feel included and represented. Next slide, please. So another thing that people really value is regularity and reliability. So there are certain things that we do and offer every day in the hub. There are certain things that people rely on weekly at the hub, whether that's the energy advice clinic, whether that's the mending clinic, or whether it's something like the knit, stitch and crochet social or the family crafting. It's regular. They know which day of the week it is, what time it is, and they know they can come in. It's free. Monthly, we have certain other things that they know when they are and they're free. And then annually, we do things like our Christmas fair weekend, etc. And then out in the community, because this is a hub and spokes model, with spokes being the project services and events out in the community, we have certain things that are regular weekly. We have certain things that are regular monthly and certain things that are annual, as well as the ad hoc projects and events that we do. Next slide, please. And it just means that people know they can rely on it. So if you know that the community allotment day is the first Sunday or the first Saturday of the month, even if it's not weekly, or, you know, for us, I think it's every Friday or something, you know you can rely on it. People, it's much easier and it's much more accessible for people, whether they have a disability, whether they have neurodiversity, whether they're elderly, whether they're perimenopausal women like me with not good memories, whether they're juggling 3 jobs and 5 children or whatever it is. Regularity means reliability, means trust, means building a network of people and relationships with your organisation, but also with your volunteers, your staff, and your visitors, and then with each other. So you're really growing community resilience and trust. Next slide, please. And as I said, it's a hub and spokes model, so we just touched on that, but you know, this is a little bit more. So of the key spokes out in the community, I guess our community allotment garden is one of them. So that's from everything from biodiversity friendly food growing to pollinator friendly planting to habitat creation, and also how to use your voice on these things in public consultations, etc. But also like multiple repair cafes, and then projects and events out in the community with local schools, food banks, hospitals, residents associations, including from the energy project and other things that we're doing. And it really means that people find different routes to engage with us and then come on a journey with us, as I said before. Next slide, please. And also what's important for us is that it is co-designed and co-delivered by the community. So we are a community group that became a CIC, that became a charity, but we're still essentially a community group. And people come to us and they say, oh, can we have a bicycle repair clinic every Friday? And we say, yep, can you help us put it on? Do you have the skills? Do you know anyone who has the skills? You know, and then together we make it happen. And sometimes they're not able to put it on, but it's been requested by so many people that we will try and collaborate with local charities and community groups who represent that need, or that group that's asking for it, to put it on, or we will apply for funding. But we try and ensure that what we are doing is accessible and inclusive because it is coming out of what the community is requesting. And that can be talking to leaders of community groups and charities representing more climate vulnerable groups and marginalised communities. Can be through people coming into the hub and giving feedback. It can be through Library of Things users, can be staff and volunteers feeding back, workshop participants. You know, we do community co-design days with lots of different community groups and community stakeholders. It can be the beneficiaries of these different groups. We have lots of different ways of getting that information into us, including collaborating on research projects at the hub and using it for living labs for other research projects that aren't necessarily about the impact and reach of what we're doing there. Next slide, please. Volunteering, we have a real diverse range of volunteers now who represent the community, and people feel reflected in the people they see there, hopefully. And, you know, people can get involved in anything, and, you know, it helps the volunteers and it helps the beneficiaries, but the volunteers get a lot out of it. Some people have returned to work after caring for a parent for 20 years. Some people have gotten over a stammer, or gotten their confidence to leave their home, or, you know, connected with people, have been gotten over grief of losing a loved one. People have come and volunteered, you know, to deal with their eco-anxiety for so many different reasons. So it brings a lot to those volunteers, but also it brings a lot to the communities who come in and see people who look like them, who are battling with the same needs locally, and seeing that sort of normalization of community collaboration on solving the problems we all see around us, and empowering ourselves to do it through sort of people power, effectively, really. Next slide, please. And then on energy. So we're like at the heart of what we're doing, we're trying to bring people on a journey. We're trying to normalize engagement with what we now call sustainable living, what our parents and grandparents called common sense, life skills, etc. But at the heart of that is, what are the key things we can do to reduce our emissions in order to leave, you know, to reduce the daily impacts of the climate crisis on people, especially vulnerable people and the people we love in the community in the UK. And we all know that a key way of doing that is dealing with the emissions in our homes. And so that is a really key feature of what we've been trying to focus on, especially over the last couple of years. And we do that in a number of ways. But for us, building up that trust and the multiple points of entry for people is really a key way that we do it differently, I suppose, from the traditional sort of setting up a community energy project or setting up a community an energy efficiency advice clinic on its own kind of way. We try and bring people on a journey from different routes and build up trust with them so that when we offer something, they're willing to talk through, you know, their bills, or they're willing to talk through their worries, or, you know, what they need help with, or what their next steps could be, for example. So we have energy champions who are delivering weekly energy advice clinic in the hub. We also do Getting Cozy craft and information sessions, which means that people, for example, who come to the Knit, Stitch and Crochet social, or some of the other social and regular events that we put on around crafting, will have the opportunity to come together to start on a scarf or a hat or a draft excluder or something related to being cozy, and there'll be specific conversation there, signpost, you know, talking about what the concerns and worries and struggles are, signposting what funding is available, what scams there are to watch out for, what opportunities there are, you know, signposting people like CELSI, which is South East London Community Energy, or signposting the funding that's available direct from government, or the social tariffs you can apply for to your energy provider, etc. And then we've got home visits that we do. So for people who want to have a longer, more in-depth conversation, but they're vulnerable and they can't really spend that time in the hub, or people who literally can't get out, we'll go to them. We do energy advice pop-up stalls at Christmas fairs, at you know, shopping centres, hospitals, food banks, all that sort of thing. And then we also do energy efficiency and renewables talks specifically for community groups, residents associations, faith groups, and other charities. And for some people, we lead with the renewables side, and some people we lead with the energy efficiency side, but we include both sides of the conversation unless it's not appropriate. So if the financial situation of the groups that we're talking to is such that they can't engage in certain elements, we may potentially tailor the talk, but generally we try and keep it open so people are aware of what you know, what the options are, and what people are doing, and what their housing association might be doing, or what they might be wanting their council to do, so they can use their voices as well. And then, you know, these are the different things that we provide, and then we've collaborated with lots of different groups, as we say there. And just so that you know, we now do have paid staff. We work on an 80-20 principle, so 80% of everything is run by volunteers and 20% is part-time staff. So no member of staff, I think only one member of staff works 3 days a week. Most staff are either 1 day a week, or 1 day a month, or 2 days a week, or something like that. So just to give you a sense, and for this energy project particularly, we have got some funding for someone to project manage the project, and then we have volunteers who are energy champions, but also we have opportunities for little bits of paid work if they go and do a one-to-one home visit, for example, because we want to make sure that actually we can broaden the number of people who are able to engage with this energy work, because it's great for people's CVs and employability and getting their way on the ladder to getting paid work sometimes, or growing their knowledge and understanding of energy and sustainability, which is a huge and growing area for employment. And so we do provide paid bits of work for our energy champions as well. That might be them running a clinic, that might be them delivering one-to-one talks, that might be them going and doing a talk and an information stall for a resident association or something else. But yes, there is some paid work there as well. If we go on to the next slide, please. By the way, if we miss any questions, which I'm 100% sure we have, we'll come to them at the end. This is just the hub again. This is one of the Knit, Stitch and Crochet socials. This was in 2022. It's now grown to about 30 people. So there's about double or more people turning up to that every Monday and Thursday. Next slide, please. It's another slide from there, which is just, you know, again, highlighting that there is low trust in sustainability messaging, especially when it comes from government. And unfortunately, we all know that it's become a bit of a political football since around, well, 2022, 2023, when people were told by people on TV that, you know, sustainability was an attack on regular people, when we know actually the poorest in society are the most impacted by climate and benefit the most from warmer homes, cheaper, reliable, cleaner energy, cleaner cars, etc., because they're most impacted by the health and the cost of living impacts of climate and high carbon lifestyles locally. But also ineffective engagement. They haven't really, the government and local authorities haven't been using trusted messengers to get the word out and to engage with people. And there's been a failure till now, and I think it's changing, to really link environmental benefits with cost of living, health, employment, benefits. And I think that's something that we're all at a grassroots level doing better. I think we can always work on that because, there's still people even in our volunteers who go, this is an eco-living place where we help you with your environmental worries. And we're just trying to get everyone on the same page. We all struggle with that, right? Is that people come with their ideas of what it is. And we're trying to bring them on that journey where when we communicate that, we think about who we're talking to, what their interest is, and how we can most effectively engage them. And for many people, it is highlighting the cost of living benefits, or the health benefits, or the community resilience benefits, and then saying the environmental side is also is a bonus. That our local environment, we talk very much about the community and local, and then social media. My goodness, that is problematic. I mean, year on year, it gets more problematic. The amount of misinformation. And then depending on the generation that you're speaking to, there are many generations, including my father's generation, that if they see something which has been videoed, even though it's on, God forbid, Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, they believe it is true. Because back in the day, when something was videoed, it was from a news source or it was trusted. And even now, the news, unfortunately, there's a level of difficulty caused by the way that the press and media can sometimes frame this conversation and make it very much about a culture war rather than, this is a necessary change and these are the enormous benefits it brings to health, the economy and well-being. So social media is a problem, the media is a problem, but what do we get with in-person, human, on the ground people who if someone can come and tap you on the shoulder when you're litter picking, and someone can come and have a conversation with you at your repair cafe, or have a chat with you at your solar install, or come and talk to you at the clinic, at the information advice clinic, at the food bank on energy efficiency, or whatever it is, they can have a conversation with you. And that's really important, human one-to-one conversations, because there's just too many myths and too much misinformation online. And also, even if you're looking at, there's just too much advice. So having a one-to-one conversation with somebody, and also just connecting and feeling you're in it together, and hearing someone's local case study on, oh, I did this solar, or oh, I put this draft excluder in. That is what's meaningful. Hearing people's stories and hearing from an actual human being, that is what's going to shift the dial. And I think we all know that because we're all living and working at that grassroots level. So next slide, please. So yeah, again, just highlighting, we're reframing sustainability, emphasizing the relatable concepts and language to try and make it more mainstream. And also we're doing that while addressing wider community needs through the lens of the sustainability work we're delivering. And then it's all about highlighting peer-to-peer, like local people sharing skills with each other, sharing case studies with each other, running events and services for each other. Next slide, please. And people can see that we are addressing their actual concerns. We listen, we fundamentally care because we are them. And they can see that because they can see our staff and volunteers are from the local community, and we're always keen for them to join in and add on to our volunteers or what we're offering and the services we're doing. So next slide, please. And again, as I said, we can answer questions in a way that government or local authorities can't. We can clarify policy, funding, infrastructure, and even new technology in a way that government can't do on its own. In a way that if government or even the local authority opens its mouth to say anything, even if it's really positive, they will automatically be drowned out by noise, motivated by various other motivations, but probably not community good. And we can answer the questions. We can bust the myths, and we can even patiently listen to and help with net zero skeptic views with one-to-one conversations, so that people don't feel attacked, they don't feel defensive if they want to ask, why are we doing this expansion of ULEZ, or why are we trying to push air source heat pumps, or why are we doing this, or why are we doing that? And we can really hone in on and try and highlight for them the day-to-day benefits of those changes that they find challenging. Again, bringing it down to, how is this going to save money, boost well-being, build community resilience for your own family, and also maybe those vulnerable groups that you will care about. Maybe it's kids, maybe it's the elderly, maybe it's the impoverished, but really making it feel tangible and local. Next slide, please. So our impact, I think we've talked about this, growing engagement, low carbon behaviours, increasing civic engagement, and reducing pressures on public services. Next slide, please. And we did some research last year with CAST, with Bath University, to see, in terms of the environmental impacts, what was happening. And we were really happy to see from the people who responded that 46% of people, of users of the community hub and our project, have reduced their energy use. For me, that's the biggest stat on there. Yes, there are higher stats, but for me, yes, people will always be easier to bring into the waste reduction conversation and engagement. What is hard is things like energy, is things like transport. And the fact that we've moved the dial that much for people is really, really powerful for me, and makes me feel that we've got to keep going and sharing learnings and hearing other people's experiences so that we can improve what we're doing. Next slide, please. And again, the other exciting thing of that research was that not only are people making changes at home and when they're shopping, but they are making changes in their local community. They are interacting with their PTAs, their residents associations, their faith groups, and also their councillors and their MPs. And that is also driving normalisation. And then in the workplace as well. So if they are engaging their employers and their workplaces, then that is really meaningful as well, because we know that employers, want to keep their staff happy, don't want to spend money on recruitment and retention. And if they can start engaging their staff, well, if the staff are engaging them with sustainability, then that's another push for businesses to get more involved with their higher emissions. Next slide, please. Thriving spaces. So some of the bits that you will have seen in that video, and also that we touch on here, is that this space and also the other regular sort of spaces and projects out in the community are having a real impact on the quality of life of the people who are using them, the quality of life, the health, the cost of living of those people, as well as their environmental impact. And people have time and time again said that the space or volunteering or the Repair Cafe has given them hope in the community, has given them a sense of belonging, has given them a lifeline. And it's amazing, some of the case studies that we've collected of people whose lives this work has changed. One old lady said she'd managed to get back, well, we helped her actively on the phone, get back £3,000 from, an energy provider who had wrongfully sort of held on to it. Other people, we've helped them get access to tariffs that they should have got in terms of being on benefits, or in terms of being able to get access to bills that they could read because of their sight issues or because of language issues, etc., etc. So there are really moving stories that people are coming to, I'd say, on a weekly basis and sharing with us, which is really, really wonderful. But for me, it's about bringing people together to solve the problems that they see in their community, and bring people on a journey from where they start, whether it's a socioeconomic or wellbeing need or any area of sustainability, bringing them to that energy conversation, so that when there is a public consultation or an opportunity to do something in their home or in their block, then they've got that in their mind and they know who they can talk to as well for support. Next slide, please. And then, over the last 3 years, we've seen increased diversity in service users, strengthened academic collaborations, diversified funding streams, and secured some key funding for blueprinting our model. And all of that I've discussed is also going to be in that blueprints package as well. If we go to the next slide, please. So we want to do more than just a talk. to support other people, because from my perspective, I left my career. So I was a lawyer for 20 years, a problem solver, bringing people together, explaining things. The last 11, I worked in ITV, working with creatives to tell stories and breaking down complex areas of law or governance for creative people, and trying to work out how best to explain things and solve problems. And I did that not just to create a community hub in Bromley, but to empower other people across the UK to set up their own, or because we're all doing amazing different things to strengthen what they're doing. So the key issues tend to be the balance between volunteering and staffing, diversification of funding streams, and the lack of diversity in the beneficiaries, the volunteers, the participants, the staff of these projects. And so those are 3 key themes that run through the things we've been testing in this pilot in the community hub, and that are going to be in that blueprints package as well. So next slide, please. So these are some of the opportunities. The opportunities that I've got here to sort of share are, we're putting together a community hub blueprinting package so that people, once that is created in the next 18 months to 2 years, but bits are going to be created all the time. But once the whole thing is created, people then can take it for use franchise style for free, obviously, franchise style, or I think 70% of the usage will be groups and projects cherry picking elements that they're struggling with, or they want to strengthen, or they want to boost impact of or reach of, and cherry picking the elements from that package that they just want to use. It might be a template for Repair Cafe with teenagers, or it might be a template for tailoring your volunteering to different needs in the community, or it might be the induction, or whatever it is, or negotiating zero rates, or what key clauses to look out for in leases, whatever. But you can take those bits, because the reason I left my career is to make sure we're all doing it as effectively as possible. When I worked as a lawyer, especially in-house ITV, templates and sharing learnings was so key, because you have very little time and money to do the work you need to do, and even less sort of volunteering energy. So you don't want to be burning out. You don't want to be wasting time. You want to learn from one another. So that is the blueprinting package. And I'm going to share a link to the EOI form, the expression of interest form, where you can tick, yes, I'd like to find out when the blueprinting package is available. And then the next thing is that we have got some funding for some one-to-one exploration support sessions for organisations that have been going for a year or more and are hoping to set up a community hub or some sort of similar permanent space in their community. It might be a day a week, might be 7 days a week. But for groups who are interested in that, we've got some funded time to spend time with people. We'll probably be doing about 45 minutes an hour, one-to-one. With about 100 groups. Then we'll be getting that down to about 20 groups, where we'll do a few more sessions to help them on their journey to explore what's possible, what they need to get lined up. And then we'll get that 20 down to 4 groups. And with those 4 groups, we're going to try and get them to a point at the end of 2 years where they've got their infrastructure set up, they've got their partners set up, they can use our impact data to try and the templating work, etc., to try and secure funding and space, and train up their staff with our carbon literacy training, which is designed for this work, etc., etc., etc. So that's kind of what's on offer. Everyone, as long as you've got, 2 or 3 people who are running your project and you've been set up for a year at least, and you've done at least a couple of community events, very happy to do a one-to-one session. That will be another tick box on the expression of interest form. So when we get to that, you can say, yes, please, I'd like to one-to-one, and that will happen in the new year. We're just setting up a waiting list at the moment. And then finally, another part around joining the dots. I've learned over the last 7 years that we're all doing amazing different things, but we can all learn a lot from each other, and we tend to get siloed into air quality network and energy network and transition town network and CEC network and One Planet Living network. But actually, the more we cross-pollinate, the better. And also, the more we share a variety of templates and case studies and, sort of template forms and lesson plans and things like that, the more we help each other with resilience building, impact and reach. And so we've got some funding to set up a community sustainability support network. The word support is missing there, unfortunately, for England. And that will be free to join. And it will also be on the expression of interest form. You can tick that. And with that, we're going to be doing a wider project around feeding back challenges, opportunities and impacts to policymakers at government level and also funders on an anonymous basis from any groups that feed in, but to really try and challenge and encourage and help policymakers, both at government and funders, to really support this really important grassroots work that we're all doing, because there isn't that understanding and there isn't that ability to input across that board in that really key area of community grassroots sustainability engagement. So the next slide, I'm going to tell you about the network a little bit more, and then I'm going to take you to the expression of interest form. So, and let me just see if I can, there we go. There's the EOI form.
I'm just wondering, Parisa, because we've got quite a lot of questions
Oh,
and
yes.
we've got about 8 minutes left on the
Okay,
webinar.
so let's go to the questions. Let's go to the questions. That's fine. I'll just leave this. This is the network. But basically, yeah, I've sort of talked that through, and there'll be an in-person event, hopefully once a year, which will also be funded so people can get their transport and lunch paid for. And then if you go to the last slide, I think that is good to leave up while we have the questions, if that works.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll also
Let's go through the
circulate
questions.
this in the follow-up email. Lucy's been tracking the questions coming in the chat. Lucy, do you want to feed any of those back?
Yeah, that was so inspiring. I want to set up a community hub now. Quite a few questions come in. So just going back to the earlier ones, Marta Lloyd from Acox Greener, she says they're on a similar path trying to establish a community hub in Birmingham, running a community allotment. So she's asking, would you be able to share the good, the bad and the ugly lessons from your experience? And do you have fee earning activities or do you rely on grants? And do you have any support from the local council?
Yes. So first of all, 100% the conversation about the good, bad and ugly and where to go next is for the EOI form. So there's a QR code on the screen, scan that, fill in your organisation's details, and we should just do that one-to-one because we can go into that in more detail. But yes, there is good and bad and ugly of it, obviously. And one of the interesting things is taking people who volunteered with you for a long time to becoming staff to deliver very set things can sometimes, it's wonderful, but also can be challenging because of relationships that you built up and expectations, etc. But yeah, there are always challenges and positive things, but it has been overall amazing. Funding, I would just say yes. So I've always from the beginning been really keen on diversifying funding streams. And just to be clear, I'm not intending to set up greener and cleaner community hubs. The blueprinting package is for other people to take and set up their own community hubs with their own names on it. It's not about brand or ego or anything like that. It's just that we want to create some templates so people can use them if they want. So funding wise, yes, like we deliver corporate lunch and learns. We do volunteering, we do team days. Some organizations, we have referral schemes. We do community events. Last month we did a comedy night we raised, I think, about £20,000, which was amazing. And then we do smaller events like our Christmas fair coming up this weekend, where we might have 1,000 to 2,000 people come over 2 days, and we'll raise maybe £4,000 or £5,000 with that event. So it's a range between sort of corporate offerings. In the hub, sometimes we do have paid workshops and events. I'd say 90% of our events are either free or in the sort of like £2 to £5 bracket. And I have to say one thing is that one thing I have missed, and another reason that now I'm in this stage, I'm setting up this network, which is not going to be called the Greener and Cleaner Network. It's the Community Sustainability Support Network for England. The idea is after 2 years, we want the government to fund it because something similar is funded regionally for Ireland, Northern Ireland and Scotland. But one of the things that I will benefit from that, and I think lots of people will benefit from that, is also connecting with other founders and sharing the exhaustion and the need for resilience boost from other people like you going through the same thing, the CEOs, the project leads. It is hard. And honestly, in 2021, after the pandemic, where I was home with a 2- and a 4-year-old and working full time, doing additional pro bono for ITV on sustainability and running the charity 35 hours a week, I did burn out for 6 months. So, but the rest of the core team stepped up, and our now CEO stood up as interim CEO at the time. So it is really key having a core team of people so you can support each other. But I think this network will really help our resilience emotionally, but also the practical delivery resilience, which is where we all need help as well. Sorry, next question.
Next question. Okay. Does Greener and Cleaner deliver all the sessions, or do you work with a range of local partners?
We collaborate on events and sessions, so yes, and sometimes we signpost other people doing other things. So it's a range, but we try and, between our volunteers and our staff, deliver a lot of stuff. So that 10 to 15 events I was talking about is pretty much us delivering it, but there might be a local chessboard and board game cafe that we're collaborating with on our board game cafe once a month, for example. So it'll be collaborations mostly and then us delivering.
Okay. Okay. What budget does this work use or need? So that's a question about how much does it cost to run this?
And another question for, like, it's another good conversation for EOI, the EOI form, I think, when you're having those one-to-ones, because you could run something that is regular and permanent 1 day a month or 1 day a week, and you could narrow it down to, let's say, 2 or 3 topics of sustainability and stuff. But because of the way that we run it and the way that the sort of 360ness of it and the 5 days a week, 10 till 6 of it, I would say that it would be really hard to run it on less than 150, 180,000 pounds a year. We are spending more than that because we're doing loads of additional projects and we're testing things and we're doing these research collaborations, which all cost money, etc. But the idea is to get it down to that. But if you were doing it 1 day a week, or you were, scaling back different parts of it, you could get it down. The key thing, I think, is to remember that people will say to you, you can have this space, you can have that space. Is it mainstream? Are you going to have high footfall? Is it going to be accessible, by public transport, car, lifts, for disabled people, etc.? Are there toilets? And are these people going to help fund at least 2 members of staff? At least somebody who is going to be there 10 in the morning, 6 o'clock to open and close it and make sure it's regular and reliable, and at least one other human being who's going to organize and potentially help deliver the events that you've got going on there and potentially help promote. That's the minimum. But you also really need someone who's going to help part-time on the finance side, to help part-time on the social media or marketing side. But as a minimum, if someone's offering you a space, if it's a developer, make sure you say to them, and if you're a council and somebody is saying, we're going to put a community space in here, community spaces all over the country, apparently, I've been talking to lots of different urban design groups and architectural groups, community spaces are in development plans are often left empty for years because A, they don't have a template of what to run in it, and B, they haven't funded any staffing for that space. So I think it's really important to think about that cost-wise.
Have we time for any more?
I think we're going to have to wrap up. What we'll do though is we will pull all the questions from the chat, and then Parisa will send them to you. And if you could respond to us, then we can circulate that, because I think it's helpful for others to see the responses as well. And we can send that in the follow-up with the recording.
We might be able to group some together as well. I think this.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'm just going to wrap up by sharing my final slide. So thank you so much, Parisa. That was really, really inspiring. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling all the positive vibes that you're giving out with this work, and I love it. And yeah, I'm sure that everybody else thinks the same too. It's just fantastic. So just really quickly then, if you can take a moment just to feedback on our session today, there's a QR code there, but we'll also circulate that in the follow-up email. We will follow up with the slides and the links and the EOI form that Parisa mentioned sort of immediately after today, and then we'll follow up with the recording and some of those other responses to the questions later on when we've kind of processed all that. If you came to our last session on delivering energy advice in the community and you want to come and chat more about that topic, we have got a reflection session on the 2nd of December, which you can sign up to, and I think we've circulated that to everyone who was at that webinar. But yeah, that's just a sort of follow-on from our previous webinar. And yeah, thank you so much for joining today, and thank you, Parisa, for your time. And that was really fantastic.